Hey guys, let's have a little fun with UFOs and how do you think they travel? How do you think they work? If they do exist, how would you hypothetically make it work? Well, I have a answer, of course. Here we go.
Revealed that the Department of Defense ran a $22 million effort to document and research UFOs. But is the Pentagon sitting on a trove of extraterrestrial evidence, or is this just the latest fuel for conspiracy?
Well, they're going to show the Navy pilots and their instrumentation. This is government, U.S. government, with the UFO and them talking about it. Here we go.
Theorists. UFO researcher and historian Richard Dolan joins us to deliver some insight into the government's so-called Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Richard, thank you so much for being with us. Now, for so long, the government has denied the existence of alien life, but now it seems they could be sitting on some evidence of alien life. So what can you tell us about this now defunct Pentagon program, and does it lend any credibility to the possible existence of alien life?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Paula. I think it is a very interesting development that's happened in this last month. It is true that the United States government for many years has completely denied any overt interest in what we would call UFOs. On the other hand, that's always been contradicted by a large body of declassified evidence that has come out by bits and bits since the 1970s through the Freedom of Information Act, which have, in many cases, shown that there have been lots and lots of military encounters with highly unconventional objects that just defy any kind of normal explanation. So this is a phenomenon that they know about. They just don't like talking about it because I don't think that they either don't have full...
So take notice, it says the program was shut down in 2012. Here we go.
Answers and know what to tell us, or maybe they do have answers and they'd rather not tell us as well. This new program is interesting because it is an acknowledgement by the Pentagon itself, after investigation by New York Times journalists, of a program to study UFOs, and this goes right up into our own century. It was only shut down a few years ago, and they've had some very, very unusual cases that they, again, cannot explain. Just as in the 1950s and 60s, so too in the 21st century.
Unusual and fascinating. Now, much of the funding went to a billionaire friend of former Senator Harry Reid, Robert Bigelow. His company, Bigelow Aerospace, claims it recovered materials from, quote, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, what can you tell us about Bigelow Aerospace and what it actually found?
Well, I'm very glad you're asking this question. It's an unusual one, and I'm not hearing it asked anywhere else in the media. But this was one of the little bombshells that came out in the New York Times piece a couple of weeks ago, that objects that were recovered from these encounters, or somehow UFOs have been recovered and studied. This is a claim that's been going for years and years and years. And the government would blandly just say, no, that's never happened, never happened. And suddenly now, boom, here's the acknowledgement that they've been doing it. What nobody knows, or at least what I don't know, is what Bigelow Aerospace has determined what these objects are. But they're a major company. Robert Bigelow has run this company for many, many years. He's been a defense contractor for a long time. He's clearly very well connected, and has personally indicated a strong interest in UFOs for a long, long time.
Now, one of the highlights of this recent fervor is footage from a Navy F-18 showing what has been described as, quote, aircraft surrounded by a glowing aura traveling at a high speed and rotating as it moves. Now, some
rotating as it moves and can change directions, etc. But let's go from there.
Could argue that this is just the latest in a series of these dubious UFO sightings.
All right, guys, I should give you a little cut to the chase here. I'll give you how it can do all these things. Here we go. And leave no so what it doesn't do is leave an exhaust, etc. No exhaust, and so I'll show you how it can do that. No exhaust and can change directions on it anytime it feels like it. Here we go.
But in your expert opinion, is there
anything
different about this specific account?
Yes, I think it's very interesting. And, look, when you look at some of these UFO videos on their own, without context, it's easy to be dismissive of them and say, oh, well, that doesn't prove anything. But we have to look at everything in context. And this video was released by the Navy in connection with an incredibly fascinating UFO encounter. The Navy had not a particular object for 2 weeks before they actually sent a couple of F-18A Hornets to intercept. And those are top-of-the-line fighter jets, by the way, and who were completely outclassed by this object that people are able to see on video here. So it's quite interesting. That object had been tracked at an altitude of 80,000 feet, which is very high, dropping down to 20,000 feet apparently quite easily, and then was seen either at the water level or below the water, making maneuvers that I think the pilot of the F-18A said, basically, I don't know what that is, but I want to fly it.
Wow, Richard Dolan, thank you so much for joining us to share your expertise on this fast.
So let's get with the let's see if we can get the actual commentary. Here we go. This might be it. You got to hear the commentary, and then I'll tell you the simplicity of it. Well, you know what? I'll tell you the simplicity of it, and then we'll listen to the commentary. Let me see where this is going first. So commercial. And the simplicity of it, let me go over 2 tabs. 1 tab and 2 tabs. And this is Tesla's flying saucer with the electricity, so that doesn't work. Here's the simplicity of it right here, guys. This is it. Proton, neutron, electron, nucleus. That is it. That's your hint. And let's go to the video. Let's go to the video, and I'll give you your...
Helping you buy better.
And I'll explain it to you.
In the movie Independence Day, a fighter pilot gets into a dogfight with a UFO, and the UFO loses.
Welcome to Earth.
But real-life fighter pilots are now going public with their UFO encounters.
Wherever we were, they were there.
No distinct wings, no distinct tail, no distinct exhaust.
There were a spate of sightings.
No distinct exhaust, so no heat signature, right? So what is a UFO? Just think about it. If it can do that, the only thing that can do that without exhaust and burning carbon and things like that, it would be very simple to change directions on a drop of a dime instantly. That would just be using the power of an atom. That you imagine if you could make yourself part of this atom, any atom, make yourself into a part of the atom, the proton, if you will, the nucleus. You can then turn on your attraction towards the more so towards protons. So as you go through the air, if you will, the air that we know around us, you'd turn it down so you'd only be all protons would be pulling you. So you'd only see protons as you were getting pulled like a magnet. You're the opposite side of a pole. You're only seeing the metal, so you're only being pulled in that direction. And then you can just dial it down to neutral, and now you're nothing. And then you can go the other direction. Since they're flying through air, then we can say that I could say that okay, they must be using, unless there's something smaller than the air around us, they're using the air around us. They're the protons, and let's go here. Protons. Where are we? Hold on. So right here. First, it's probably a good idea to review what an atom is made of. Basically, it contains a nucleus holding some number called an N. It positively charged protons, which is surrounded by a cloud, N, of negatively charged electrons. See that positive, negative? It's simple as that. So all you got to do is make yourself negative, and now you can get pulled towards the positive is going to pull you, vice versa. This allows you to change direction because then you would just simply tunnel the shape of your controls, if you will, to be pulled in only that direction. And you want to stop and go the other direction, just, turn it, pull the other direction. Using the air around you, its nucleus around you. It's neutrons and electrons around you to protons and electrons around you to kick butt. Did I say that right? Right. Electrons and protons around you to kick butt, to get your directions going. Electrons and, neutrons. So neutrons, electrons. So you want to get pulled that way, you run on that way. And it's simple as that. Sorry for clarity. You're just going to change your ability to get pulled this direction. As simple as that. And we know that they pull towards each other. So you just make an aircraft that just rides the wave of these guys. That you can act like the simple proton in the middle, the nucleus in the middle. And you just ride the waves. Neutrons, electrons, just changing it as you wish. What do we have here? Perpetual motion machine. So before I end, one more thing since I'm trolling with this stuff here, basically, talking about spacecraft. Let's go ahead and throw down a perpetual motion machine. Gravity. I'm a gravity hater. Gravity is one direction. It doesn't have an opposing force which would cancel it out. And so therefore, it is a perpetual energy machine. That if it exists, which I say it does not, then why can't you just make a device, then since engineers believe that you can use it in a formula to force of gravity, well, why can't I make a device that I take advantage of the force of gravity and this continually pulls down and releases at the bottom. So it shears off at the bottom, and then the next cycle comes down, it shears off at the bottom, and I guess the bottom for you people would be, to believe in it, would be anywhere you place it. So if I placed a pyramid shape here, and my energy, since gravity is above the pyramid, I would just somehow make something that I wanted to pull down, creating that free energy, and it would shear off at the pyramid, and then I just keep cycling it through. Just underneath the pyramid is where I capture the energy, making a cone, if you will, a cone, and so everything comes down through the pyramid, something shear off, and I steal the energy of it coming through the pyramid. Or wait, how about if I just, since gravity exists, which I say it doesn't, how about I just create a tube and I just let gravity push its way through here, and as it's going through, I take advantage of its pushing ability. Maybe it's pushing air, right? So I just take advantage of it. It's just junk. I'm really trolling with it. I troll myself with gravity. I just find it friggin' stupidity beyond belief. It's linear. It's one directional. It goes to the center of the earth, everybody tells you. Yet there's nobody who's been to the center of the earth. You only theorize what's down there, basically lava. And now you're telling me lava, and we know there's volcanoes there. We look in the ocean. You're now telling me lava is the center of the earth and lava is gravity. Well, that's magnetism, isn't it? Now we could talk about that, but we're not going down there because you didn't say gravity is magnetism. You said gravity is gravity, that it pulls everything towards it, that you can put everything with a calculation of gravity. I can design everything with only equilibrium with no need to add one bit of the formula of gravity into it. None. If you want to shoot a trajectory, just use equilibrium. You don't need to make up a fake gravity to come up with a trajectory to make it work. It's equilibrium. If there's a pulling force there, then there's a pulling force. And the pulling force would be it trying to establish equilibrium based on the weight, the lack of gas inside the bullet you have, and you're going to use now the trajectory of the force that you send out there to make it reach to where it is. You are not using gravity. You can use gravity all you want. You know what? I'm just trolling myself. I'm terminating video. I just wanted to have a little fun with gravity, spacecrafts, flying saucers by Tesla. This guy over here is a physics professor. Just to give you a basis, and I don't care if I get that all mixed up, neutrons, electrons, protons, whatever. I didn't make that damn aircraft. I just give you a hypothetical how it works. As far as I'm concerned, they could be the electron that makes themselves pull towards the nucleus. As far as I know, maybe it's that direction. So don't hold it against me unless you hear the rest of this interview and terminate.
By Navy pilots back in 2014 and 2015 along the east coast of the U.S. The government even released a couple of videos.
My God!
Showing unidentified objects on cockpit sensors.
I don't think it.
One pilot managed to lock onto one flying over the water.
Oh, go ahead! Woohoo! Wow, let's try.
What's new is that now the pilots are talking to the New York Times and in a mini-series for the History Channel.
Unidentified inside America's UFO investigation.
The pilots are identified. This is F-18 fighter pilot Lieutenant Danny Acoin.
It seemed like they were aware of our presence because they would actively move around us.
One pilot told the New York Times of another pilot looking shocked, telling him, "I almost hit one of those things. It flew right past the cockpit, looking like a sphere, encasing a cube." Back in 2004, off the west coast near San Diego, a fighter pilot captured a white oval-shaped object on his sensors. Watch it accelerate and depart screen left at high velocity. They call this one the Tic Tac because of its shape. Sure, maybe it's just a result of bugs in the imaging system or atmospheric effects. But if there are aliens, let's hope they don't need Tic Tacs for their breath.
Okay, so, yeah, that's a way to take away from the content with that. All right, take care, guys. I'm out.